What's going on, guys? I hope you are ready because we have a big announcement to make. But before we do that, we have to dive into this week's episode of Real Housewives of New Jersey. We have Melissa storming out, well, almost storming out. We had her storm into the bathroom while she went and cried and poked her eye out. We have some beef between the new girls and Jen, and there is a lot going on. We're going to break it down. And then I have the BravBros. I have Steele and Shooter that are here to help me break down Real Housewives of New Jersey. I hope you're ready. Hopefully you have, well, maybe some coffee. Maybe it's a little too early for a drink, but I got my coffee. I hope you're ready. Let's dive in. Oh, hi, it's me, Zack Peter, pop culture junkie, reality TV insider, published author, and host of the No Filter with Zack Peter podcast. Here I'll bring you all the latest news on the Real Housewives, deep dives into celebrity legal scandals, and unfiltered combos with your favorite stars. I've got you covered. And yes, I always keep receipts. So be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for all the latest tea. Now, let's dive in. Let's dive in, shall we? So in order to help me break down this week's episode of The Real Housewives of New Jersey, I got to have two of your favorite BravBros. Please welcome to the live stream. We got Steele and Shooter.
What's up, guys? Happy to be here.
What's going on, everybody?
Shooter's in his car because he's at his real job, which sucks.
Yeah, no, they took all the office space, so I had to move to the car. I don't live out of here, just to make it clear.
Well, maybe sometimes.
Listen, no judgments if you want to live in your car.
Yeah, do whatever makes you happy, bro.
Do whatever makes you happy. We're here to help you live out your wildest fantasies. And if that's in a car, then you do you.
Just park outside of my house so we can record faster tonight.
Oh, there you go.
In the driveway.
There we go. Okay, guys. So we're now into season 13 of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Episode 4 just dropped. We had Teresa's love bubble party. I don't really understand what a love bubble party is other than to flaunt her love around to the world. What were your overall thoughts based off of last night's episode?
I mean, my first thought, and I couldn't get it out of my head, and I asked my wife about it way too many times. The woman dancing in the bubble, was she wearing headphones or was she just moving around? Like, I just feel like I'd get really awkward if I'm trying to dance in a bubble and there's no music playing. So that's where my head went.
Yeah. I was thinking about breathing. Like, how is she breathing in there for a long period of time?
That too. I don't know.
Yeah. I like that we were thinking the same thing, though. Like, the things that were going on in the episode, you and I honed in on the girl in the bubble in the pool.
Yeah, what's going on? I want to know more about the girl in the bubble. I know that there's a lot of shit popping off with, like, Teresa and Joe and everybody, but what about the bubble lady? No one's talking about her.
We'll talk about her.
I mean, at least you noticed the bubble because it was talking about them being in a love bubble. So she had to have a lady in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's, she's such a creative genius. So it was so smart.
Very
overall, and we've talked about it a lot, and we've gotten a lot of shit for it because I have learned, this is our first full season recap of Jersey. So I've learned that no matter whose side you take, even if you don't take a side, you're wrong.
Yep.
Everyone's going to tell you you're wrong. So we're trying to look at this season, or at least I am. I don't want to speak for both of us, but purely objectively, like whatever we're getting on the screen is kind of what I'm taking at face value. And from what I've seen, and including this party, I feel like Louie's making an actual effort. I thought Teresa was cool until she drops "this is my chosen family" line. So up until that point, I'm like, wow, she's making a lot of changes. She just can't help herself to kind of throw one jab in there. But I would say overall, after this episode, I'm still on the fence. I think that there's evidence on both sides. If this is, the primary thing is Teresa versus Joe, I'm right down the middle still. I don't have enough info one way or the other. I'm just going off of what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is them being nice.
And that's a very smart approach. I feel like too many people go into these seasons already being like, I'm going to be Team Gorga or I'm going to be Team Teresa. And instead, like, I always like to look at both sides of the equation, and I like to look at what they're both saying and kind of like give them both a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. And then usually I'll end up leaning one way or another, but I never like to pick one side or the other ever, because I just feel like then it's just toxic.
It is. And honestly, like the chosen comment, I really didn't have as much of an issue for it. If there wasn't drama music playing in the background, I would have thought, oh, she means chosen family, like I'm choosing my friends as my family. I don't really think it was a shot at Joe, and maybe Teresa has poisoned my mind at this point, but I'm actually taking the side of Joe is kind of, I guess, like making this go on longer than it really needs to. And I feel like Melissa's kind of caught in the middle now because she shows up by herself and
Yeah.
she has to because of the show or whatever. And then she's kind of hung out to dry. She's got no shoulder to cry on. Nobody really feels bad for her. You got Marge throwing in comments that are making things worse. So I don't really know what to feel. I mean, he was invited. They were all invited. They could have gone. They could have squashed it. And he's choosing not to. So that's kind of what I'm hyper focused on.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. He's like, I don't want to go because I don't feel welcome in her new life. And so why am I going to go to celebrate her new home and to celebrate her new engagement? I get it. But at the same time, he's also like, when Teresa calls him at the top of the episode and she's like, I want to make peace. I mean, it wasn't her idea. Louie had to like write it on a note and be like, this is what you have to do, sweetie. You want to make peace. And she's like, I want to make, what does that say? Pizza. So she is trying to like extend an olive branch to him via Louie. I think Louie's definitely kind of trying to be the one to mend things. But I understand Joe's point of being like, I don't feel part of her new life. But if you truly want to just drop it and move forward, then I think attending the party is a good step in the right direction. The more he delays these conversations and he says he doesn't want to have them because they don't go productively, the more he delays even, just being around her, I feel like the worse it gets because then, it's just more and more stuff that they're sweeping under the rug without really addressing.
I
I don't
agree
think that
with
he
you.
realizes that he's hurting himself in this whole thing
Yeah.
because it's all about exposure and what you're doing on camera. And what he's doing on camera is avoiding the issue. What
Yeah.
Teresa's doing is trying, through Louie, through whatever, trying to quote unquote mend it. But in the long run, Joe's just really hurting himself and he's hurting Melissa more by not just going after it and just addressing the issue, the elephant in the room, and taking care of it. Whether it ends up good or not, at least you can show yourself on screen saying, look, I tried. I went after it. Spoke my part, spoke my piece, whatever. Instead, you're hiding. So like, you're not going to get anything done.
Yeah, I agree. So what did you guys think of the podcast episode that Melissa did on her On Display podcast and the comments that she made? Because Teresa's responded to them now, not on the show, but she did an interview herself this week. So on the podcast, she says that her and Joe put food on the table for Joe Giudice and their daughters while Teresa was off at camp because they agreed to film the special, when Teresa was in prison. They agreed to film with Joe and film the special. And Melissa said they needed somebody to film with, and we immediately stepped in to support them, and we helped put food on their table. The daughters didn't seem to like that. Teresa doesn't seem to like that. She did an interview this week saying, if anything, she put food on their table because it was a check-in on Teresa special when she was in prison. So it was a spin-off special about Teresa rather than a spin-off about them. And they just happened to hop onto it and they got a paycheck thanks to Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that what they're doing, and I think that Joe does it a lot, is they tend to exaggerate every interaction that they've had. So whatever's going on, we see it at the dinner with the dudes when they're all initiating Fuda into the crew. The way that Joe talks, like every word is the most over-the-top explanation or adjective of anything he can say. So I think that we see that with Melissa as well. So like when she's explaining a scenario, instead of saying, we helped them out during a time of need because we knew that they needed money, like Teresa was in prison, we just stepped in for the family. That's one thing, right? If you say we put food on their table, that means that they relied on you solely to feed them. And that's a big claim to make. And it's much different than helping out your family. If I'm putting food on Shooter's table, I am literally taking care of and providing for Shooter, right? It's very different than if Shooter needs help with something or a little support. Like, yeah, that's a very different scenario. So I think that the problem is their choice of words, which is clearly intentional. They're trying to do that on purpose to garner more support. And what pisses me off with the Melissa thing is then she tries to walk it back. She's like, well, what I meant by put food on their table, it's like there's no double meaning to that term. Like that's not a phrase in which you can take it one way and spin it a different way. Putting food on your table means that you're providing for somebody. That's it. There's no second meaning. So she shot herself in the foot there. And it's kind of a pattern, right? Like she makes a claim. We do a little bit more digging. Doesn't turn out to be true, or at least not 100% true. And then she walks it back and she posts something on social media like, oh, guys, what I really meant to do, like with Kyle and Ozempic. She's like, oh, I didn't actually say that, guys. Like, what I actually said was this. And we're totally cool. You've seen the walk back post from Melissa like 15 times in the past year. So I think that they just need to be more careful with what they're saying. And to take it back a little further, it's like somebody has to give at the end of the day. There needs to be like somebody to just allow for things to move forward. And whether you felt it was genuine or not from Teresa, it doesn't matter. Teresa extended some sort of olive branch there. And if you want to move on, Joe needs to just be like, fuck it, I'm going to go to this party. I can't. Try to be prideful in that moment seems like a moot point to me.
Yeah. Shooter, do you think Teresa really does want to move forward? Or do you think she likes having this contention with them because now she does have a new family that she can kind of lean on and support that seems to give her blind loyalty? Like her daughters are very loyal to her and naturally that's their mother. But I feel like she's okay cutting out Joe and Melissa.
I think this is her perfect situation for where she is now because she gets to play the part of the namaste, I'm going to drop everything. Everything needs to be peaceful. But she still gets to look at Joe as the aggressor in the situation. And it paints her to be, a better person. It paints her to be the bigger person in the situation. And she gets all the blind support from her family. So this is like her perfect situation. People are looking at her like, oh, she's trying. She's doing her best over here. And in reality, yeah, maybe she is kind of poking the bear a little bit the way that only Teresa can do with Joe and with Melissa. I really don't think she wants things to change. I think she's kind of happy with where it is, as much as she wants to portray that she wants this big, happy family and she wants Joe, Melissa, and everybody. She could, just invite Melissa's family to the wedding, much like she just walked up and said, oh, do you want to be in the wedding? Like, of course she's going to say no in that situation. But if she walked up and said, do you want me to invite your mom and your sister to the wedding? She'd be like, yes, absolutely. That could squash it, but she's not going to.
Was it weird to not invite Melissa's family to the wedding? I think it's weird to invite other people's families to the wedding, but I'm not Italian.
So I can speak from my wife is Italian and she's like 50% Italian. So her mom is 100% Italian. It is more of a thing. Like extended family does have a larger role to play. Now, I initially was like, who gives a shit? That's not a big deal. Until Louie even said to Teresa, like, I thought we should have invited them too. When he said that to her, I was like, oh shit, like maybe because I didn't realize the relationship that they had prior to all this stuff going on. So if Melissa's in-laws were actually, or sorry, if Joe's in-laws were actually that involved in their life, then yeah, I mean, we see how big of a deal the table is, right? Like that's the Italian table is a big deal. So yeah, Italian weddings they tend to be a little more, I don't know if extreme's the right word because it's not, but they care a lot more about the details, about who's invited, where you're sitting. And if you forget people, like when we were planning our wedding, there were certain people that we weren't able to invite, and it's still to this day an issue. And like we were just trying to meet a number, we had 180 and we went over to 190, but there were certain people that were on the Italian side of the family and they were pretty pissed and they still are. So I think if you have the room, which they do, just save face there and just invite them. That's what I think. But
yeah, I mean, it's really just like at first I was like, all right, it's a second wedding. Who cares? It's not that big of a thing. She
invited Ramona.
Exactly. She invited so many extravagant people that are like loosely connected to her life through the Bravo world, through whatever. All these people that are showing their invitations online, early as it may be, but still showing the invitations online. And you didn't invite, what could be considered as like a second removed family from yourself. That seems a little odd. And again, like what Steele said, when Louie said that, I was like, oh shit, like, I guess she probably should have. And I don't really know what the thinking was there. I guess Teresa's probably just thinking like, we're not really good with Joe and Melissa right now. Obviously they're invited, but why would I go any deeper if we're not in a good place? Maybe if they were in a good place, they would have been invited. I just think that when it comes to this wedding, and we're going to see it, I guess they'll probably spread it out over 3 episodes the way that this works. We're going to see this wedding and it's going to be so extravagant and so crazy. And I think that's what Teresa wanted. I don't think she cares about like the actual people that might impact her life. She wants all, the publicity, all the celebrities that can possibly come and everything that comes along with it. That's kind of what she's honing in on here.
She wants the event. She likes the
Yep.
big event and the extravagance and to show off what a great relationship she's in. Okay, guys, if you're watching this right now, drop into the live chat and let me know. Do you think Teresa should have invited Melissa's family? They're thick as thieves and Teresa knows them. Should she have invited them? Or, is Ramona a better seat filler? Obviously, we know Ramona didn't end up attending, but let me know what you're thinking in the live chat. Also, drop your name and where you're watching in from so we can give you a little bit of a shout out. Do you guys think that there's any sort of mending moving forward? Steele, do you think that at the reunion we may get a little closure with them?
With Joe and Melissa, or Joe and Teresa, I mean?
Yeah.
No, I really don't. And I think all the pieces are there to make it work. I think that, and we talked about this in a previous episode, the pride factor is so big with this whole crew. It's not just Teresa and Joe, it's everybody in the group. Nobody wants to be wrong. Nobody wants to be on the wrong side of history. Like, everybody firmly believes, and it's almost an endearing quality, honestly. They all always think they're right. Even when someone has to be wrong, everyone still thinks that they're right. So I can't see Teresa swallowing her pride any more than biting the bullet and inviting them to her wedding. Like, I think that was as far as she's going to go.
Yeah.
In that moment, I think Joe and Melissa needed to come together, bite the bullet, and just show up and just start that healing process. I think that Danielle said it the best because she has experience with it. At some point, too much time is going to go by, and it becomes unmendable. And it's not even so much about the why anymore. It is what it is now. And I think that they're at that point where, barring some kind of massive life event, I don't think that they reconnect now.
Yeah, I mean, I think neither one is willing to buckle and neither one wants to accept any sort of accountability. Do you think that Louie's intentions are genuine?
We talk about this a lot. Yeah.
I think it is. I think that it would take so much energy for him to play this part. And I mean, if he is, then kudos to him because he's the best actor I think that we've ever seen on Bravo. The way that he says things and the way that he comes up with, if you want to call them schemes, if you're on the negative side, if you want to call them, plans to kind of get to like an amicable place, if you're looking at it from the positive side, I just looks like he means everything that he says. He seems genuine.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Steele and I talked about this when he brought in the fact that his mom's a therapist. He grew up with sisters. I think you can kind of look at it like he might be able to play that to his own terms, where he kind of knows how people tick and he could play that against them or for him. So it is really tough to kind of put your thumb on it and be like, oh yeah, absolutely, this is what he's doing one way or another. I honestly think that he's genuine in all the things that he's doing to try to, kind of right the ship and just at least make things, into a good place. Now, I kind of agree with Steele. I don't think that they'll ever get back to the place where, Uncle Joey is back in their life and he's a great figure and he's, an extra father figure, whatever. I think it might get to a place where it's at least, like I said, amicable. But as far as Louie's role, I don't know what he's doing, but it seems like he's doing something for the greater good.
Yeah. I mean, it's given off that impression.
My biggest issue with both of them, with Louie and Teresa, and I've talked about it multiple times. My biggest issue comes in, everyone wants to use their past as kind of the bar. Like, this is what, like, we know Teresa, she's full of shit. Like, it's going to come out. Or like Louie has a past where he's done some fucked up things, or there's some rumors about him with his treatment of women, X, Y, and Z. Those are not inexcusable. Like, obviously they've done some wrongs in the past. I'm not here to say that they have not, but we live in a world right now where like change is so important and people talk about, growing and growth. And they're so quick to say their own personal journey of growth. Like, oh, I've made all of these strides in my life, but we're going to tear down whoever we see trying to do the same on TV just because they have a past. We all do. So that's where I get a little pissed off about the issue, because you need to give them space to, if they're growing and it works, what if this is who they are now? We don't know. We don't know them personally. So like, what if this is who they are, but we're not giving them the chance? We're just going to crucify them because they did shit, years ago. That doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, think about how much we change as people in 1 year. Like, the evolution is constantly, like, we're constantly growing and changing. And I think you're right. We do have to give people space and maybe a little bit of room to hang themselves. And when they hang themselves, then all right, we're done with them. If they continue to keep exhibiting that pattern and there is no new pattern moving forward, then I agree. That's when we close the door on them.
Yeah, I think you said it best. Give them enough room to hang themselves. Like
Yeah.
if they turn out to be shitty, then we'll be the first to say, you know what, we were wrong. But
Yeah.
let's give them the opportunity to prove us wrong.
Yeah. Hi, Aaron D from Philly. Let's see. We got Proud Texas Lady from Dallas. We have Miss Kristen from Indiana. What's going on, guys? We have Trish from Sweden.
Hey, what's up, Sweden?
What's up, Sweden? Okay, you haven't missed the announcement yet. We're about to make the announcement. We will make it very shortly. But before we do, we got Canada in the house. We got so many.
We're international. Let's go.
International, baby. Okay, so before we make our big announcement, what do you guys think of Jen Aydin? She's been in the hot seat a little bit less, or I guess since the season really began, but this seat primarily with Bill. She doesn't like how Bill doesn't automatically have her back or conditionally have her back, and the other ladies seem to kind of come at her at Teresa's love bubble party. Shooter, how you feeling about Jen?
Yeah, I mean, the Bill situation is interesting. I really don't know where to land on it because you can tell that he really is just trying to make peace with everything. And he even says it at the end, you know, when our kids are, as we're raising our kids, I'm going to teach them to make peace at all times and be the bigger person. And you get Jen on the other side who just wants some support. And Steele and I talked about this at length last week about, you know, where does Bill stand? And we just kind of think that he's kind of checked out all over the place anyway. If he was super involved in everything going on and he was still doing this whole make peace thing, I think it would be weird. But I really do think that he just doesn't want to be bothered with anything. And he's kind of frustrated that Jen keeps inserting herself into these situations. And he's just like, just back off, leave it alone. But I don't really think he understands what it's like to be a housewife on one of these shows. So he's completely checked out. I think trying to analyze his situation, we're not going to get anywhere with it. We're not going to get any answers. And at the end of the day, are we even going to be like happy that we got to the end of it? No, probably not. But Jen's an interesting one because I thought she took a bit of a turn this week. Last week, she kind of stammered when she was going toe to toe with Marge, and she's got her issue with Dolores. But watching her on Watch What Happens Live last night, she seems to have it together, and she kind of makes peace with people here and there, and she does respect a lot of the women that are on the show. And I don't know. I thought that she took a better stance this week. I thought that she stood up for herself. She made more pointed arguments about herself and her situation. Do I think it was hilarious when she said that she called Rachel to say, hey, I had a shitty nose job, so did you. We can kind of be friends in this regard. And Rachel's just like, what the hell? Like,
jobs, yeah.
But like, you know what? You're on a housewife show. Like, that's kind of a pillar of housewives is kind of making fun of nose jobs to each other. It's just going to happen. And I thought that she took a bigger step this week, and I actually really don't mind her, especially because without her, the rest of the issue would just be between Joe and Teresa, and that would get really old really quick. Yeah. If Jen's going to be there, and at least if she has some good points and arguments and she drops a couple of good one-liners, we're going to be thanking her at the end of the season for carrying us a little bit through this whole Joe and Teresa thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Jen's great for the show. I think that Shooter said it perfectly. Like, we need that reprieve kind of inserted in there, or else we're a one-show pony. We're just watching the same thing that we've been watching for years. As far as Bill goes, first of all, I have to point out that a lot of our listeners have said that Shooter kind of looks like Bill Aydin, which always makes me laugh.
About 30 years younger.
But second, I think that they are both like at a point in their marriage where they're just together and they're fine with it. And like, I don't think that anyone's leaving anybody. I don't think that they're like fully invested in each other's lives. I think that they are there for their children. I think Bill goes to work and makes the money. I think Jen does her thing. And I think that that's how it's just going to be until the kids are 18, and then we'll see what happens.
Brian Scott Patterson says there's more going on between her and Bill. I'm feeling Lisa Hochstein vibes. Do you think that he might be cheating on her or ready to leave her? I don't know about that.
I don't know. That's a bold claim to make. I get the vibes.
Claim.
Honestly, the vibes are certainly there. I kind of agree with Brian on that one, but it's a really tough claim for us to make sitting here.
Yeah, that's a bold statement.
Yeah. We're not ready to do that.
He has cheated in the past. So like
he has a track record. He has a track record.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for Jen's sake, because she feels like she's hanging on by a thread right now. Like, there's been moments where I'm like, I thought what Marge said was terrible. Like, I hate when people use the therapy thing. Like, they need to be in therapy. Like, if you're saying that about somebody else, you probably need it more. But there are moments where I'm like, is Jen okay? Because she's kind of erratic right now. And I know she's got a lot going on. She's constantly defending herself. She doesn't help her situation because every time that the argument or whatever altercation is over, she has to say one more thing every time. It's like when she makes the bleacher comment to Teresa, she's like, just put me in the bleachers. It's like, oh, that's kind of funny at her wedding. Then she walks over to the table full of a bunch of women that don't like her and says it again. Like, I told her to put me in the bleachers. It's like, what reaction do you want there? Like, it's already been squashed. Just like move on. So for her sake, I hope that Bill's not cheating. I don't know if she can handle it. I don't know who could, honestly.
I think she might be done. I think she might be ready to leave Bill the same way her mom's been ready to leave her dad. But I think in their culture, it's just we're so used to sticking it out through and through, which maybe isn't a bad thing because I feel like people will so easily walk away from a relationship or walk away from a marriage without being willing to put in the work. So maybe that's kind of a good thing that she does have some of that cultural bias still in her or instilled in her still. And so maybe there's like a bit of a balancing act that she's trying to do. But I mean, I don't know. I like a messy Jen. I like her. I like a tequila Jen. But I want to see like the Jen that we had that first season when her and Margaret were kind of coming at it. And I feel like next week we might get into a little more of that. So I'm looking forward to it. Shout out to Sarah Bay from Paris. Shout out to Paisley from Scotland. Wow, we really are international today, guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
we love our Scottish people.
We love it. Okay, shall we make our announcement? Are we ready? Should we let people know what we're doing, what we have coming up?
Let the people know. I've been dying to tell people. So yeah.
I know. We've been talking about this for so long, and now we can finally reveal it. So guys, we are going to be doing a live show together. We're going to be doing a no filter night out with the BravBros in their hometown of Philly, April 27th at City Winery. Are you guys excited?
I can't wait. This was number one. We made a bucket list because we're losers. But when we started this whole podcast, thanks for the support. We made a bucket list. I made a bucket list when we started this because it was such a ridiculous concept to begin with. And I was like, I don't know where this is going to go, but all I want to do is one live show, at least one live show, and this will be successful in my eyes. So the fact that we're able to do a live show with you, who was our first ever like appearance other than our own podcast when we were guests on yours, and you helped us out immensely when we were just getting started. So to like come full circle with you to where now we're doing our first live show with you, I'm fucking stoked. I think it's going to be awesome. I think we're going to sell it out and it's going to be a blast.
The live shows are so fun. I did a few of them last year. I've done a couple of them in years prior. And I loved it. I remember after we wrapped our show at City Winery in New York last year, they're like, we want you to do more. And they're like, here, try this to Boston, maybe Philly, and I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, well, the BravBros are in Philly. I would love to come to Philly. We should do this. Every time we collab, it's always so fun. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So we're doing a live show, guys. Mark the date, April 27th at City Winery in Philadelphia. We're going to have some very special guests coming out. So you're not just going to have the three of us. We're going to have other special guests joining us at the shows. If you're on the East Coast, mark the date, April 27th. You can get your tickets at nofilterlive.com. Pre-sale for the Zack Pack. So if you're a member on the Zack Pack here on the YouTube, you get special early access tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. The Zack Pack members will get early access. I'll post the code on YouTube. That way you have it and you can get access to tickets. You get first dibs. And then public on sale is this Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So mark your calendar, Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Get your tickets to No Filter Night Out with the BravBros in Philly, April 27th. It's going to be a fun night, guys. We're going to have a blast.
Oh, yeah. We're pumped.
I'm pumped. The live shows are such a blast, and I can't wait to do it with you guys.
Yeah, and you're gonna have a bunch of our dumbass friends in the crowd. So good luck.
Oh man, I love it. In Philly, you need a roast pork sandwich. Oh,
yeah, after a good cheesesteak, but not wrong. That was the original Philly sandwich. Was a pork with broccoli rabe.
You're gonna have to show me how we do it in Philly, because I'm ready. I'm ready to get the full Philly experience.
We'll take you to Angelo's, get you a real cheesesteak.
Well, I can't wait. I'm excited, guys. Again, April 27th. You can go to nofilterlive.com, nofilterlive.com. You can sign up for email updates. You can get your tickets. You can get a full update and recap about the event over at nofilterlive.com. And stay tuned because tickets go on sale tomorrow for the Zack Pack, and everybody else gets access this Friday. Whew.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Back to Jersey. Thoughts on Jackie? Do you feel like Jackie's a little judgy? Were you a fan of her laundry shorts comment?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that Danielle was dressed like it was 2007, and she even said it. She said, "I'm never going to tell you where I got those shorts from. I told my fiance, I told our listeners last week. I think they're from Aeropostale. I think that's why she's hiding it. But if that ever comes out, Steele, by the way, that's going to be one of our bets.
Is that store still open?
I don't think so. I think if I had to vote, I would say it's an Abercrombie fit. That would be my guess.
Maybe that's a possibility. But I mean, I don't need Jackie. You know, Jackie can kind of go. She even agreed. She's like, I am kind of judgy. You can call me that, whatever. But I think that she's having a hard time transitioning to the friend of role. And I don't know where she's going to be at the end of the season, but she's not really bringing it. She didn't really bring it last year, so I don't really need her that much anymore.
I would agree. And I think that, first and foremost, I think that she looks great. And I'm glad that she's getting her eating stuff figured out. She seems to be in a better place with that. I would like to say that before I rip her apart, because what she's bringing to the table as far as being a housewife this season or a friend of housewife, she's clearly trying to have her moments and she's forcing them. And I'm over it. Like our first interaction with Jackie this year, she goes at Rachel Fuda. She's like, "You haven't looked at me one time in this conversation." It's like, is she supposed to? Like, that's such a weird drop in right there. And then at the lunch, when she just immediately goes in on Danielle, it's just so instant. It comes out of nowhere. And I don't understand why she's coming in so hot right out of the gate. I mean, I do. She's clearly trying to make an impact as a friend of, but
yeah,
you need to let that shit be organic. You're clearly on the chopping block and like, you're not bringing enough.
Okay, question though. Do you really believe that it was Jackie's choice to step down, or did Bravo demote her?
Demoted.
She got demoted, yeah.
Definitely demoted. But like, why can't we just like own it? Like just at least be like, listen, they demoted me. Like, why even try to be like, I was trying to be more mindful of my eating disorder, and that's why I needed to step back to focus on my treatment. But it's like you're at every event and you're inserting yourself into the drama. So you clearly want to be a part of the drama. So don't excuse it, because then I feel like it dilutes her eating disorder storyline, which was so rich and that we've seen for so many seasons. That I'm like, just be honest, they demoted you, and it didn't work out. It wasn't the best fit, and it may hurt the ego. And she says that it's hurt the ego, but I don't know.
No, I agree with that. And I think that, unfortunately, it does dilute the other storyline a little bit, just because she has an opportunity there. Like, she's been very forthcoming with her battle with everything, and she's been on the up and up, and she's shared a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't have the courage to do. So hats off to her for that, honestly, because it's clearly something that she struggled with for a long time, and it's a very sensitive subject.
Yeah.
But like you said, by not being able to own it, she could have done herself a huge positive by being upfront and being like, you know what, I was asked to step down, but this is a chance to really focus on me, focus on this, and bring it to a bigger platform, to where now maybe like that's her primary focus this year, is just kind of speaking out about her journey. She could have helped a lot of people with it. Instead, we see her trying to be the dramatic one and trying to be the instigator, and that's not her role. It's never really been her role, at least done well. So I think that she needs to kind of take a step back and reevaluate her approach to this season, or else she's not going to be back next season.
No, I mean, the whole thing with Danielle and the hands in the face, and she's like, "Get your hands on my face." She's like, "This is how I talk." And she's like, "Is that a threat?" I'm like, "Come on, this is ridiculous. Like, this whole fight that you're trying to make right now looks so stupid." And it's like you're ruining, because I feel like last season, people, when they found out that Jackie was being demoted, at least from what I remember online, people seemed to kind of be disappointed with them. They're like, "No, Jackie really brought it this season. She was open, she was honest." And I was kind of like, well, I can see them demoting her, because I feel like she gave us all that she was going to give us, and now we can kind of send her off and keep her in a friend of role where she can provide commentary. But I think her inserting herself. And I think this is where Bravo struggles, is when they cast these women and when they demote them and tell them, you know, you have to earn your spot, then they get thirsty and then they get scrappy and then it becomes too forced rather than allowing them to organically earn their spot.
And like, you look who she's up against right now. Like, Danielle is going to be a star.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
The Fudas have a big shot to be somebody. I like them. Like Jen Fessler. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She is like a sneaky fave of mine. I think she's great. So if that's who you're up against, that's the new competition in Jersey. First of all, I'm much more optimistic about the future of Jersey with these ones coming in, but also for Jackie, you can't have a bad year because this is like your competition to take over Jersey, and they're really bringing it and they're doing a great job. Danielle, I could watch all the time. Like, I could watch her pretty much headline the show. And like, that's what I think is going to end up happening. I think she's going to be a very big mainstay in Jersey. I'm making that bold claim now. But
well, it's been a while since we've seen a new housewife come onto the scene so strong as much as Danielle has. Like, she's different than the rest of them. She's almost like Jersey to the core, and she's from Staten Island, but she's almost more Jersey than everybody else on the show, you know, sans Teresa.
But she feels Jersey-licious to me. You guys probably
she really does. I mean, like, the gifts that she gave Teresa for her housewarming, like, was Jersey to the T with the leopard print. Like, it was just very, like, obvious, and she's such a good role for this character. And now you've got Jackie just trying to kind of stay relevant. And I don't really understand. If you're Jackie, you kind of have to be smarter. Like, Danielle is going to be a star for Jersey. Maybe go after Rachel. Maybe, you know, Jen Fessler, I think she's still a friend of, but maybe go after Rachel. Like, Rachel, there's still some question marks there. Like, does she deserve to be a main character? You go after Rachel, maybe you can, like, create something going on there and take her role if that's what you want. But with her kind of just saying, like, oh no, I requested to be a friend of, to take a lesser role, but now you're showing up in every scene, it, you know, it kind of does cheapen, you know, the fact that you're saying, like, no, I had to take a step back for my health. It's like, well, you're there all the time. Like, don't like, go focus on the health if that's what it is.
Yeah. Kelly says that Danielle feels a little too Jersey Shore for her.
Oh my
is
God.
that not the point of Jersey?
Yeah, but
No,
I feel like
I
that's
agree.
the point of Jersey. You need at least one of those.
So Meg makes a really good point. She says Melissa's family attacked Teresa for years on social media. I wouldn't have invited them either. I forgot about that. Every time there was beef with Melissa, her sisters would go on social media and come after Teresa. So I can understand why Teresa may be like, yeah, I don't need them, especially if she didn't have Melissa in the wedding.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a
good point. Yeah.
Good counterpoint.
That's a good counterpoint. Yeah, see, we're open to counterpoints.
Yeah, no, just don't say anything on TikTok, because no matter what you say, dude,
TikTok and Twitter are ruthless.
And then I get yelled at by Shooter because I respond.
Don't respond first. I get in trouble because then I get a little lit and then I'm in there fighting with them in the comments and I'm like, what am I doing?
Oh, I'm stone cold sober being an idiot. And Shooter's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry.
Take it back. All right, guys, this was a fun recap. We'll be back again next Wednesday to recap next week's episode of Real Housewives of New Jersey. The previews look spicy. Margaret and Jennifer are coming at each other. Are you ready?
Oh yeah. Can't wait for next week.
Yeah, I can't wait. I like the way the season's going. It's got a good trajectory. We got some good potential stuff. They need to be able to shift the focus from Teresa and Joe at some point, if that's possible.
Yes.
But I'm enjoying it so far. I like it.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
We've had Teresa and Joe for so many years at this point. Like, it's good to see where they're at to get like a little bit of the drama of where things currently are. But I'm like, maybe we bring in some new blood. I'm ready for some fresh blood. I'm curious what they're going to do with Teresa and Melissa and how they're going to move forward with both of them. Because at this point, I don't think that they can.
Teresa's getting her own show. That's my claim.
I heard that Teresa was supposed to get her own show, and that this
was it called the Love Bubble.
The Love Bubble.
You know what I want to call it? Sorry, Family Tree.
That's actually a good name.
There you go. That was
right.
Yeah.
That's actually a good name. Family Tree. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, so we'll be back next week to recap next week's episode of Jersey. Guys, go to nofilterlive.com. Get your tickets for April 27th. The BravBros and I are going to be in Philly at City Winery in Philadelphia. You can go to nofilterlive.com. Get your tickets, sign up for the newsletter. That way you're always in the know, and stay tuned because every Wednesday we're probably going to be making some announcements about who special guests will be that'll be at the show. So you're going to want to save the date and get ready. Next week, we will be back with more tea to spill. Don't forget to hit the like button on your way out. And where can they follow you and support the BravBros outside of this YouTube live stream?
Follow us on Instagram at Brav_Bros, Twitter at Brav_Bros, and TikTok at BravBros, no underscore, I think. And then subscribe on YouTube. We just dropped that Chris Bassett interview, and we got almost 1,000 subscribers finally. It took us a long time, but we're not YouTube active. We're starting to get better at it. So go watch the Chris interview and subscribe. Yeah, please.
You finally dropped the Chris interview. I heard that you were teasing people for the longest time.
Yeah, they were getting mad. They were getting pissed, so we dropped it.
The comments sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, Steel Shooter, thank you guys so much. And everyone, thanks for joining us live. We'll see you again next week. And until then, you can always follow me at Just Plain Zack or follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack. And don't forget to go to nofilterlive.com to get your tickets for April 27th in Philly. Me and the BravBros, No Filter Night Out. Get ready. It's going to be fun. All right, guys. Bye.
See ya.